It's time for the blue ribbon event. It is the Gold Cup, and thank the Lord Galopin Des Champs was back to his brilliant best, because he is one of the greatest stay-in chasers I think I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. I like to get excited about a horse. It's even better when you get excited about a horse and they back it up. I personally thought his Gold Cup run last year, he did lots wrong and still won like an absolute good thing. I cannot believe the price that he went off over Christmas, especially with Fast or Slow out of it. But he did what I expected him to do. I know Willie Mullins said that it was a little bit, I don't know, out of the ordinary, or is a little bit more than expected. But like, he is just the best horse. Obviously, the market now reflects that strongly. 5-4 on the machine. He's even money shot generally. Fast or Slow, who I did mention, is 4-1 second favourite with the bookies. But again, look on the machine. He's a 15-2 poke. It's 10-1 bar those on the machine. Jerry Colum, Shishkin are just in behind. I feel like this is one of those races again, right, where I think if I asked 100 people who the winner was, I would say more than 50 would say Galopin Des Champs, which would argue that his price is okay. But then you don't really want to be getting stuck into one of these ones. Like, maybe it's one from Martin, but it's the last day of the festival. We'll have a few quid going on. I start to try and think about where you could have a bet in behind. You get the likes of the Shishkin, that's probably too old, but the King George run was good. But there is place money up for grabs. But again, I don't see this race cutting up to the numbers we've talked about before. I think there will be enhancements on the day. So as it stands at the moment, I don't really personally see a bet in there. I think Galopin Des Champs just shits home. He's a terribly short price now for all that I think he is an absolute legend and a great. So I'm going to come to you first, Jamie. Is there a bet at this point to be had in the Gold Cup?
Quite possibly no, Dave, to be honest with you. I can't see, like, forget about the rest. It's about the top three in the betting, right? Forget about the rest. They have absolutely no chance, right? Shishkin, to me, obviously would have won the King George, right? And he proves he stayed. But I'll come back to what I said earlier in the Ryanair preview. I don't think Cheltenham is his bag. I think he's just a flat track 3-miler. Do you know what I mean? Now, will he stay the Gold Cup trip? He probably will. It's just I don't think the track is his bag, and that's just me. And it proves it last year in the Ryanair that I know he clouded to a fence there on the way up. He should have won the Ryanair. I don't know if it's Cheltenham is his bag. I know he's run around Cheltenham. Obviously, he's won the Supreme and an Arcade, but that's
he's old now as well too.
Yeah,
right?
And he's tip top form. He was that time. He was a potential horse at the time. So to me, it's just between Galopin Des Champs and Fast or Slow, and the only horse that's beaten Galopin Des Champs is Fast or Slow. So it's unoriginal, but they're the only two horses in the rest to me, and it's Galopin will win. What I will say is, I know he's won a 3-year-old chase in France, and he's 7 now, Fast or Slow. I think the better the ground, the better his chance of beating Galopin, because I think at 3 miles exactly what Shark Hamlin said about Hewitt running the race. The only way we can beat him is on good, genuine, decent ground. But I disagree with him there, because Hewitt was dead at the second last year and the ground wasn't that bad. Do you know what I mean? So I know what he's talking about there. But anyway, the only way Fast or Slow can beat Galopin if it's a road, a decent good to soft, and it looks like genuine good ground. That's his only chance. After that, if they're soft, good to soft in places kind of thing, there's nothing going to beat Galopin Des Champs.
Yeah, and they do save a strip as well for the Gold Cup, don't they, Paul? The Native River Might Bite year was a bit of a slog, but they had the fresh ground on the inside. 2 of them just battled their way up there. It does feel quite unoriginal. Like, Laurent Bresset is going to run in that Fleur de Lis. You start to dip further down the field, right? And I know this is a very bad statement to make, but talked about Stay Away Faye, that the Brown Advisory, I don't think is enough of a test for that horse. Was given a Gold Cup entry as a novice. We know what Paul Nicholls is quite direct with his horses. Before you tell me that Galopin Des Champs wins, do you reckon there's any chance that Stay Away Faye could take his chance in a Gold Cup, given the fact that the front of the market looks fairly strong, but then there's behind's a bit weak?
No, because there are, the Brown Advisory only have about 7 or 8 runners, so it's definitely going to run there.
Fine, all right. Paul, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, 0 chance. Paul Nicholls is one of those trainers who just puts the entry in just in case, but there'll be no intention to run. Look, I think can I get Faster Slow to beat Galopin Deschamps? I think even Jamie's explanation there is probably a stretch. You know, people will say, look, he beat him at Punchestown. He beat him when they met at the start of the season. You know, I'm not normally one to make excuses for horses, but Punchestown, you know, was off the back of a Gold Cup when Faster Slow had a fairly easy season, and you know, didn't have a particularly tough race in the Ultima. You know, if you think about, you know, the mark he was off there and how good he is, he should have won that, and it shouldn't have been a race that was taking, you know, the kind of stuff out of him that Galopin Deschamps would have had taken out of him in a Gold Cup. So, you know, he was just much the fresher horse, really. You know, we've already said that Willis horses need the run first time. You know, that's certainly a contributing factor when they met at the start of this season. Plus, the tactics was just a bit odd that they tried to drop him right in. He didn't jump particularly well as a consequence. I think, you know, they've learned the lesson from that. You know, it was quite interesting when you see the stats that are built around, you know, lengths gained and lengths lost per fence, and you know, was it Galopin Deschamps comparatively lost 20 odd lengths to Faster Slow in that race, but then he came out at Christmas and did the complete reverse of that. He jumped like an absolute stag when they ran him off the front. So, you know, they won't make that mistake again. They'll just be positive with him. They already know he stays the Gold Cup trip, so they don't have that concern. They don't know that about Fast or Slow. So, you know, we still don't know whether he's going to get championship pace at 3 miles 2.5. So, you know, it's a slightly different dynamic this time around as well. And I think the bottom line is that Galopin Deschamps, assuming he jumps, and he has got a mistake in him. Let's make no mistake about it. He has got a mistake in him. Assuming he jumps, he is the better horse of the two. And I'd probably take him to win quite cosily, actually. But the one thing that I will always bear in mind with the Gold Cup is season after season after season, we've had something filling a frame at a price. There's always something. Over the years, there are exceptions, you know, where you get first three in the market, but more often than not, something at a price unconsidered goes and drops in. So you kind of look and say, what's that going to be? Well, if Fast or Slow is the second best horse in that race, then Correct Rambler's not far away, is it? And you kind of think that's the kind of race where they're not going to take any prisoners this time, I reckon. You know, it's going to be a true run Gold Cup. And Correct Rambler is the ideal horse to pick up the pieces, really, isn't he? That hold-up horse that just wants to chip away, and then, you know, in the last 3/4 of a mile, he's got loads left and runs on. I don't think he can run on to the extent that he's going to beat the front two, if I'm really honest. And the Ultima, at the weights, Fast or Slow comes out the best anyway, doesn't he? What were they rated? I think Fast or Slow was £4 higher in the Ultima, and there was about a length between them. And you know, one horse had been there and done that, and one was still finding his way. So you got to think there was improvement in Fast or Slow to come from there, and we've seen improvement. So I'm not suggesting for 1 second that Correct Rambler is, you know, a Gold Cup winner, because he isn't. You know, and he will run in the race, and he's got a main target, the Grand National. But he's the kind of horse that could run into a place. Shishkin, we've mentioned as being too old at 10. I'm not sure he is. I think the Shishkin's issue is jumping issues. He's another horse, if he actually put it together on the day, could actually be right in the mix. Still don't think he's good enough to beat Galopin Deschamps, but I think he could be good enough to beat Fast or Slow on the day if he had his day. But if I'm going to sit here and talk about a horse coming in the frame at a price, then the one I'd probably put up is That's All Right Gino.
Strong on the machine, as you say that.
Real left field for most people, I suspect, but you know, he loves it round there. His Hennessy win was a really good win. He won the Hennessy in the kind of way that would end up placing in a Gold Cup, not winning. If that makes sense.
First try at the trip as well,
and
wasn't
I'm sure I'm back to the 66 to 1. He's probably still a similar price, I would imagine. So I think he's a big price each way for a place. So I'll just throw him out there for each way backers.
Nice, I like it. That's the thing. There is always an in, isn't there? The thing with Galopin Des Champs is there's lots of multiples. It is the last day of the festival. We might be able to get some money rolling up on him. I'll just put this last question to both of you before we wrap up the Gold Cup. Even money for Galopin Des Champs, right? Is it just a case if he jumps, he wins, so he should be a lot short, or is it a case that there is a little bit of competition in there? So the long and the short of it is, Paul, is even money realistically a good price on Galopin Des Champs or a bad price, do you think?
But my view is that I've had this debate in the past with people. When I've said a horse is a good price at 6 to 4 or 7 to 4. Long range anti-post, because I genuinely believe it is, because it just wins.
Yeah.
And Galopin is that kind of horse for me, really. But evens and odds on are getting to the point where evens I'd probably use the multiple. Wouldn't back on the nose. If I was going to do that, I'd probably double mistake on the day kind of thing. If I really had to get in, clearly, I'm in ahead of that. But I think he's right on the border. I'd want him to be odds against, I think, rather than even kind of a watershed.
Yeah, fair enough. Jamie, what about your thoughts on it? We'll just say that as the line is 5 to 4 on the machine, but let's just say the evens, Galopin Des Champs, like the right sort of price, the wrong price.
He's just in the multiples now, Dave. Yeah, I'd be done now with him singly. Yeah, unless I was up a lot of money during Cheltenham, I'd have a stupid bet on him probably, and to cover whatever I have left. But nah,
he probably is about an even money bloke, and he maybe a shade of odds on. But the thing is that the time to probably bet him was before we ran at Christmas, or to bet him at Christmas. And I know it's captain hindsight and that sort of stuff. But again, from the responsible gambling aspect of doing these types of things, he does probably just win a Gold Cup. But at the end of the day, it is a Gold Cup. He's an even money poke. Historically, I don't even know what the trends would be about him being the shortest price Gold Cup horse to go off, or how many they've had at this record. Some people would look at that as a positive, like he's much more of a certainty. But I mean, he does just win, doesn't he? But it's a Gold Cup at the end of the day, isn't it? There's never an easy Gold Cup, is there?
Do you know the way I'd say this, Dave? I think as a single now, this far out, we've still got 2.5 months to go. I think evens is probably just too short. If you were just going to, what are you going to do? How much do you want to win?
Well, exactly.
Put 100 on to win 100 kind of thing.
We need to wait till the Friday to find out how much we've got to get back, don't we?
Yeah, but the way to play him is, there are probably horses now in the market. I've got a couple of horses I still don't have on side that I want. One's 7 to 1, one's 6 to 1. Double them up with Galopin Des Champs if I have the courage of my convictions. I've got 12 to 1 and 14 to 1. So that's the kind of way I'd use him now.
Yep, absolutely. So there is a case to get some money on him, but obviously not the direct side of it. But you probably didn't need to be told that. Right, we will move on to our last race, which is the Mare's Chase.